Well, hello everyone. My name is Cliff Carey. I serve as the executive pastor here at Sunrise. And from time to time, we have a neat privilege, and that is we have candidates nominated to serve as elders here at Sunrise. And my privilege today is to introduce to you Rick Mandigo. Rick, welcome to the interview table.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
So what's going to happen is over the next couple of weeks we'll be showing this video at church, and it'll be available online. And then coming up at the end of the month on a Sunday, we'll have the opportunity for our members to vote to affirm Rick as a new elder here at Sunrise. So Rick, tell us a little bit. How did you come to Christ? What's your faith story?
So my faith story started as a child. I was blessed and had the privilege of growing up in the church. My family was in ministry. My dad taught at a Bible seminary and then moved into actual preaching for over 30 years. My mom was involved in music ministry, very small churches. I was baptized in elementary school in a small town in Hawthorne, Nevada. And but what I saw was that as I aged, my journey with Christ came with me. And I always came back to the thought of our walk with Christ.
Right.
We haven't arrived yet. So when I looked through my childhood, I realized I had a passion for God. I loved Jesus. And it was those moments when I would turn around and look at moments in my life and realize that He was always there for me, consistently there for me. I can't say the same for myself. I had times of lukewarmness and times where my faith, it was just there. It was church. That's what we did. It was part of the process. But He was always there, renewing my spirit and bringing me back.
So did you have a moment in all of there where you just said, all right, it's Christ is Lord of my life now?
Yeah. I can actually remember the worship service that we had. And it was in big church, so it wasn't the kid version, so I kind of already had that mode of, okay, we were there, but I felt being drawn into it, and that I was fully equal with our church and with everyone worshiping. And I remember walking home across the dirt parking lot to our pastor's house. And just telling my dad, it's just the worship was like a waterfall, and I just wanted to jump in. And then it's just been renewing my faith year after year ever since.
No, and it's been a privilege I've had of getting to know you and your wife Lindsay this last year and a half or so, and just seeing the fruit of that, being lived out in your life. You're new-ish to Sunrise, I should say, not in the last year, but a few years ago you all started attending. Tell us a little bit about what got you here and how you've been involved.
So full credit goes to our daughter, who got connected with the Sunrise Community Youth Group. And we immediately saw it working in her life. The way she talked about it was different than she had talked about church in the past. We saw it impact her walk with Christ and her love of God. And then we were in a transition part of our lives during COVID, where my father retired from the ministry after, quite a long time. It was time for him to move on, so they left the church in good hands, and then our family, like so many, everyone moved out to Tennessee. So if they're watching, hello.
I just had another set of friends move out to Tennessee last week, so
yeah, so
it's kind of a lot of us know this story.
It is very familiar, especially for us. And that just puts you in a different mind, and you start looking to where God wants you and where your journey's taking you. So we stayed because we felt called that we wanted to make sure the church hired a new pastor, that process was successful and bound in God's will and His direction. So we stayed there for that. But once that process was completed and everything was on firm ground, we just felt this change, this openness to being in a different family. So I don't know how often it happens that you're just called, and I think that's God's direction, because the first church we walked into, basically because our daughter was here and transportation was easier, was Sunrise, and walking in those first Sundays, just the immediate confirmation of family, of belonging, of being cared for as a person was immediately evident. and then you hear the gospel preached with truth and love, and it just, the impulse was like, should we continue? No, there really wasn't any debate.
No need to keep looking. Yeah.
No.
And you guys jumped in. Now, I remember very specifically you and I were talking, and you're telling about some of your experience, having been in, very close to church your entire life. And so we kind of gave you a little bit of space to just enjoy being a part of Sunrise for a while. But you did jump in a couple of ways.
Yeah. Just the amount of love, time, and attention that goes into the services of Sunrise is just wonderful. The skills, the fellowship of the people who serve is just, I've never experienced anything like it. So I was called upon to start on camera.
Yep.
And I was able to do that. So if there were a few bumpy, for those watching online, it might have been me.
It was probably, I won't get into it.
But then I got more opportunity to work with the tech staff, to learn how things operated, and it's been a real blessing to see how God's message can go through in different art forms.
Yeah, and have you and your wife been a part of Rooted at all?
Yeah, that was one of the first, once we completed our Life at Sunrise class, that was kind of a prompt there, and where we thought we could put our feet first. And it's an unmatched experience in my life. It got us closer to God, to each other, and really connected us with others in Sunrise in a way that was really deep.
Well, and it's been neat to watch how well you have connected in the church, and so it was fun when we were sitting in a group of people, and your name had come up multiple times for potential as an elder, and boy, they went around the room and everyone said, "Yep, we think we need to see if he's the man." So here we are today.
Well, that's very humbling knowing that this church is just filled with amazing people. So.
Any expectations you have for being an elder at Sunrise? That was not a planned question ahead of time, so I just dropped that one in there.
Well, everything I've served from on the sound at my previous church, to working with the finance team, to working with hiring a new pastor through a district, I've just relied on God to put me where I'm needed.
Okay.
And in Sunrise, I've learned that that's the first step, but working on your servant's heart to say, where do you need me, and saying yes to that is really important. So being an elder would call upon me to increase that servanthood, increase the ability of myself to give what I can to the church, and then to connect with other board members.
Yeah, that's good. So just we have a couple minutes left. Have you seen God at work in your life lately?
I think going back to that servant's heart, I just don't want to stop. There's so much going on, and realizing the magnitude that the gift of salvation is, and the grace when freely accepted will change it has changed how I look at life, and realizing that carrying that forward is really the only way to engage our culture in love and truth, and moving in His Spirit while staying close to it is an active thing. It's been said here many times before. It's not an individual sport. It requires others, and that's the exciting thing about it, is that the more I involve myself and open myself, He just keeps filling me up.
Well, it's going to be fun to. It already is fun to have you as a part of this church. It's going to be a fun thing to have you on the elder team, and to see how God uses you through that. So, for the rest of you out there, I'd encourage you, as you see Rick and his wife Lindsay around church, stop them, get to know them, ask them some questions, find out a little bit about them and their daughter Elise, and then coming up here in a few weeks, we'll have more information about how our members will be able to vote to affirm Rick as an elder here at Sunrise on a Sunday morning. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me here, Rick, and God bless you all. Have a great day.